Welcome back to another episode of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's up, dude? What's up?
On the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
All right, and we're back. Bitcoin's at 60-something and change.
It is. Yeah, like, quite as the God candle finally occurred, because I remember,
Yeah.
I mean, whenever the ETF hypium was all like, that's all anybody could talk about, right?
That was in January, like a third week of January or second week.
So about a month ago, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, a month ago. Everybody was like, talking to the town. I was like, what's going to happen once, ETFs come online?
Yeah, you said all-time high. I said dump.
All-time high pre-happening is what I said.
No. Let's be clear. You said as soon as the ETF gets approved, we would see like a God candle.
You're right. I did say that. You're right.
I was like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah. So, like, I was like, that is going to be, because typically, like events like that, it's always buy the rumor, sell the news. So I was like, not this time, dude.
Correct. Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah.
This time, it's different. Because you couldn't imagine like a more bull case scenario than like
No, you can't.
institutional like injection.
Well, you can. It's not institutional. It's government.
Okay.
Going in. That's it's over.
It's gonna dump even then.
Yes.
I guess is what we're saying. So I was thinking, that there's no way like the market's gonna interpret this as like a sell-off signal, but they did for about a 2-week stretch, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And then we had like a quick recovery, and then now like all of a sudden market exuberance. The switch has been like flickered on clearly. Like we're hearing people who've like not mentioned Bitcoin's name for years all of a sudden re-enter the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what happens when Bitcoin goes up 10% in a day.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's huge.
That is fucking huge. The amount of capital that requires, it shut down Coinbase.
It did.
Right?
That's so annoying. It's annoying not because like you're trying to like use Coinbase, but it's annoying because anyone trying to build like a infrastructure, they have no hope in like keeping the systems online. If Coinbase can't do it, who can?
Yeah. So what does that mean? Like we should all just like
just give up,
throw in the towels. Like if Coinbase with their multiples of billions, they can't manage to like
keep the lights on when
any type of like surge activity.
Yeah.
Then the rest of us fucking bootstrappers, like we're destined to doomed.
That's why all the websites go down, right? Ordinals Wallet, Mscribe.
Yeah, and then like as far as Rush goes, they're nowhere even close to like what I'm sure they experienced.
Yeah, but it's on like a like a same like a different scale, but same sort of like technology. Really,
I understand.
We're all using the same shit. Amazon.
Yeah. No, I know they're just scaled up like to a much higher degree because they have to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a moment like that where all of a sudden everybody's talking about Bitcoin again. You're seeing Jim Cramer on CNBC in absolute panic. And
dude,
like,
that's so weird, man. Every time we talk about Jim Cramer, he's like, he says like good things about Bitcoin, it dumps.
Yeah.
And he says bad things, and it's like God candle.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's literally the meme. Inverse Cramer, right?
But why is he so like like human?
What do you mean?
Like emotional, like positive sentiment, negative sentiment.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just part of his brand at this point. Like, he's the fucking Mad Money guy, dude. He's like screaming and shit, fucking ringing bells and shit, He's like the guy. He's been the guy on Wall Street to like, inject some entertainment, I guess, into like probably one of the more like non-entertaining things in the world, which is like finance. Yeah. Pretty fucking snooze fest, dude. If you flicker on a CNBC at any time of the day. Yeah. That's like good sleep material, dude. If I ever found it. But when Hell Money comes on, though, it's like boom, 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 boom. It's like fucking loud music and shit. Yeah. Fucking flashing lights. Right. That's Jim Cramer. He built a brand around that. So of course he's gonna have like
but just like this sentiment change on Bitcoin just all of a sudden to me is weird.
That was weird. But also very predictable. We've seen this happen so many times. It literally is like a flick of a switch.
I could watch Iman impersonate Jim Cramer all day, dude.
You can tell I watched a lot of
I've actually never seen a full episode of Mad Money.
You're missing out. Truly missing out. It's good coverage, dude. I mean, of course he's not always going to be right.
No.
And he's actually wrong quite a bit. It's actually kind of amazing. He still is like has a presence.
Well, I think he has presence because it's entertaining, right?
And he has like an actual like origin to him. I think he was like head of like NASDAQ trading back in the day or something like that. He's not a nobody.
Okay.
He knows what he's talking about. He's just fucking crazy, at the same time.
Yeah.
That adds to the allure.
It's like, you know what, Jim? We need to put you in front of a camera.
Just like, okay,
Yeah.
sure, give me $1 million, dude. I'm in.
Yeah.
And the light flicker switch happened, I guess, this week. So I mean, people in my real life are inquiring like, hey, what the fuck is going on with Bitcoin?
Dude,
I got those text messages this week.
So crazy how it
Did you get 'em
happens
too?
every time. Yes.
So that's what happened. That's why Coinbase crashed. Literally everybody turned on their Coinbase at like the same fucking time.
It's like grandmothers. Like
Let me dust off this app.
it's, like it's the only app with dust on it.
It's been like a couple of years since anybody's logged into that motherfucker. But all of a sudden, everyone at once just like, yo, yeah, let's look at my Bitcoins.
It's like, oh, I've made $15.
It's like, thank you, Jimmy, for telling me a couple of years ago to buy Bitcoin. Shit like that, And Coinbase just couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle that smoke, dude.
That's crazy. Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built Mscribe, the first inscription platform built from the ground up for the metaverse on Bitcoin. Connect your bitmap Ordinals and use our tools to bring your community into the virtual realm. Support us by joining the movement at mscribe.io. Like, comment, and subscribe for the latest alpha. Back to the video.
But that's good. So we officially have received our signal.
Yeah. Yeah, the alarm bells at Coinbase are going off. It's like, okay, it's time to turn on all the systems.
Pretty much. It's time to
hitting the systems, so we got to turn them all on.
Time to rehire everybody we fired over the last 2 years. Yeah. It's like we're time to prepare.
Yeah.
Bull market is officially, like, the season starts now, and the clock is ticking. We got about 18 months or so, roughly, until like we hit the market top.
All right, so I wanna contextualize our conversation with this rainbow chart here.
Yes,
and let's go back to, let me zoom in here, right? We hit COVID, and we're like, oh, the world is actually ending. It's over.
I genuinely thought it would. I was one of those people. I was so scared.
You're like, I don't have enough like chickens.
I got a lot of chickens after COVID.
That's more real than you think, Will.
For real.
You're memeing, but those are real texts I've got.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling the truth, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's like, I don't have enough chickens.
Yeah, that was
right. That was like the tweet here. And then it hits this green part. I was like, wait a minute, it's not ending.
Yeah, it's like the money printers are back on, dude. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. And then it just goes ham, dude, to like 62,000.
Yeah. And then we're seeing Elon on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. All right. So then let's go back a little bit more, right? Let's take a look at this stretch here. See if I can actually move it. I'm going to just zoom in here. Okay. So over here, this is the year 2015.
No, is it? I think I see
2015 is over here.
Right.
All the way to 2017, 2 years of blue hell.
Blue hell. That is blue hell.
You know what's crazy is that even in this blue hell, it just went up.
Slowly, but surely.
Yeah, so this is like, we're looking at $200. We're looking at $1,200 here.
Yeah, these must have been like a true desperate winter. And I remember it because I entered the space like immediately after this, like winter phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember hearing like the fucking trauma stories of like people who came into the space during the last peak of the market, which is basically like after Mount Gox completely collapsed. And the whole infrastructure basically of market activity around cryptocurrency was just like fizzling. And so imagine it's basically like FTX, but if FTX was like the only provider of like market activity, like imagine how that would have felt.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I guess FTX scammed everybody, but at least I have like, Binance and Coinbase, like and Uniswap. I could still fuck around.
Yeah.
Right. So we didn't all feel that bad unless you got personally burned. But imagine that feeling. It's like the whole market,
all of crypto's gone. Yeah.
That contributed to probably like the most depressing era of crypto. I bet that's what I would label that as.
Oh yeah, and it looks obvious. I mean,
but what's happening during that time though? Ethereum is being built.
That's right.
Like right around here,
like 2015.
Ethereum ICO is happening. There's fucking shit happening. ERC20 developed.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, we can make our own shit coins.
Yeah. So Bitcoin was largely ignored here. There's nothing happening on Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it just suffered like a traumatic event. So it's like, yeah, you know what? Let's pick up the pieces over here in Ethereum land, and then
and my point here in talking about this is like all of a sudden it breaches that green line, the dividing line here.
Where is that? What time is that?
This is 2017.
Literally right around the time when I was hopping in, right there.
Yeah.
right there, dude. And I remember,
And then you hop in, it's like, oh shit, I'm just like making money. I'm a genius.
yeah, I was
My
like,
man has literally saved Bitcoin.
my entry into the space, dude. That was a signal to get in, dude. It's
Yeah.
like, get in. But yeah, I remember a lot during these days.
Yeah,
man.
we were sending texts to each other. It's like, dude, we're in a bubble. I was like, all right, man, this is not a bubble. This is actual legitimate technology.
I was like, no, dude, we're in a bubble. Trust me. It's like it's just going cratering down, dude. You know, don't lose your money. You're like, you know what? Go fuck yourself. But yeah, here we are. You losing your money.
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess you're right.
So you see that red? That's where Will bought in.
Pretty much. It was right around the zone. Will's like, you know what? New paradigm.
Yeah.
I remember this.
And then it's like, you know what, I guess you were right. Let's go have an enchilada. And let's just have a chat, dude, about this stuff because
Yeah,
there's something here.
that's true. It was right around there, right? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's at some
Somewhere.
point.
Yeah, then it actually dumped. And then this was like, you know what? It's time for a podcast.
That's correct. It's like time to fire up the cameras.
Yeah.
You know, we got something to say. It's like basically, yeah, we're like at pure like destitution, like the peak of that bear market.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, how are we going to pick up the pieces from here?
Right.
That was like the whole motivation for the podcast, right? It's like somehow this is all going to come back. So
Yeah.
we should probably spend our time like investigating and figuring out like who's going to like bring back, you know, put the wheels back in motion. you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah. And so here we experience the first green flippening here, right?
Yeah.
And it gets to the yellow and then it starts dumping, right? COVID, and then we're back to where we were, right? So
Yeah.
now let's talk about where we are today,
Okay.
right? It finally breaches from blue to green.
Finally, dude. We've been fucking in this blue zone of hell
Yeah.
for a pretty long time again. But it wasn't nearly as depressing because luckily we were in Ordinals, which is like the Ethereum of that
That's right.
that depressing era where like the innovation is happening
Yeah.
when everybody else is so clearly depressed.
Yeah.
I literally saw people like posting about like, dude, I lost my wife, I lost my house, I lost it all, dude. And I was like, damn, that really sucks
That
for you,
sucks, dude.
You should have like, you know, paid attention to Ordinals. You know, just
Your wife
saying.
wouldn't have left you if you were in Ordinals.
I think you could make a case probably. I don't know, dude. But the
Right.
point is, we did this cycle, this bear cycle. What we did whenever we first started the podcast,
That's right.
we focused on where the innovation was emerging.
That's right.
That's why we were able to capture like in the last bull cycle, like what are going to be the killer narratives? NFTs, GameFi,
Yeah.
DeFi, Metaverse. What else, dude? That's good enough.
Yeah.
We're early to all of those. So I was like, yeah, this is clearly like the new stuff,
Right.
right? So here we are in Ordinals.
And everything in Ordinals is basically new.
Yeah, I mean, fucking just digital artifacts,
Yeah.
digital matter theory, you know, actual non-arbitrary assets and stuff. These are the new things emerging in this
Yeah.
space, you know? So, I mean, we have like a 3 or 4 candidates list here that, you know, these may be the drivers of like, these are new innovations that
Yeah.
are going to inspire new development, you know?
And the only new stuff that we heard from Ethereum, just by scrolling, and we haven't really looked into it, was ERC 404, and even that was pitched as like some like breakthrough innovation,
Yeah.
and it's just not.
Well, fractionalization, that is really not that new. We've heard that like a million times.
Yeah.
Security tokens have been like a pipe dream since like 2018, but it's like
Yeah,
a
that's right.
regulatory like nightmare. So, you know, like
It's a deep nightmare.
the fractionalized ownership of valuable assets.
Yeah. You
Like-
ever seen the movie Get Out
I think so.
with
Hold on.
Jordan Peele?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like remember when that guy goes into that dream and he's like falling and like slowly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's what it's like to deal with security tokens.
Okay. I totally get that. 100%. You're falling in a dream, I guess. You're falling
Exactly.
into a void.
Yeah, it's not gonna work, guys.
I mean, it can work, but you're gonna need like,
Regulatory approval. That's what
Yeah.
you're gonna need. It's not gonna work until then.
I mean, you're gonna,
And even then-
people are gonna get away with it for a while. Like
Yeah, because you can do it outside of like these regulatory boundaries.
yeah, you can make the protocols, like build it into the protocol, like ERC 404 is advocating. It's like, don't just issue NFTs anymore. Issue like NFTs that have like actual fractional
Security
components.
implications.
Yeah, that tie the ownership and the actual existence of that NFT together.
Yeah,
Right?
securities. Yeah, let's do it.
No, not securities. Don't say that. You know. No, this is
This is not securities. It's just fractional ownership.
yeah, but fuck all that noise, dude. Just like let's tinker with this while nobody's like noticing, right? And let's see what we can build with this, right?
No, I encourage the tinkering. I just don't think it's going to pan out into anything like legitimate.
Well, it would. This is like, but that's how DeFi was. Like you can't be that afraid of. How do you know if I should? How do you know I should say it? But it's like don't be so scared of regulatory bodies, right? You have to innovate no matter what. So these people who are putting in. That's why most of these founders are like anonymous, right?
Yeah.
Contributing to DeFi and such. Like they know. Like these are like in the gray territory of like, you know, whether or not these are acceptable securities or non-securities. Right?
Yeah, I'm curious if you're anonymous, what measures do you take to remain anonymous? Like are you using a VPN network?
Yeah.
Have you created an email account on like Proton using a VPN?
Damn, are you giving the Anon like guidebook right now?
Yeah, are you using the Tor network to communicate on Twitter?
Wow.
Like if you're not doing that, you're not anonymous is what I'm saying.
Mm.
And if you are doing that, you're going great lengths to remain anonymous.
Yeah.
And I would like to follow you. So let us know in the comment section below.
There you go. Yeah, so that is that motivation, right? Because, you know, obviously the regulatory agencies are paying attention. They're sniffing around. They're trying to see like anything that is in that gray territory that I can like, I don't know, I guess extract something to make it look like, you know, I'm operating how I should be as a governing agency, right? Like, look, we're finding violators in that crypto space.
Yeah.
You know? So let's make an example of these different projects and such. So.
Yeah, and the one every time we talk about violations and regulatory frameworks, I keep thinking about Tornado Cash. Smart contract, and the guys who wrote it are in trouble.
Like actual trouble.
Yeah.
Serious.
Like
trouble.
government level trouble.
That's my point. And they were literally just the tinkerers, you know, like of yesterday.
And that's why you shouldn't mess around with this stuff. Is what I'm saying.
I don't know, dude, but we need those bold and brave tinkerers, right?
No, we do, but
you just acknowledge the risks you're running into, right? But those guys obviously were not anonymous, right? Because they found them.
I don't know if they were anonymous. I can't remember.
I don't know either. But that is like pretty shitty though. Like that's fucked.
Yeah,
you know, for being
and it wasn't like to support like, you know, missile development, right?
They're building technology.
Like it's privacy technology. That's what they were building. At least that's what they were pitching. I mean,
well, that's what it is. But of course, you know, people are going to utilize that for
nefarious reasons.
Correct. So, but it's like that thing we were talking about just now. Like, what is it, TJ? What's his fucking name? The fucking actor who shot somebody.
Oh yeah, Alec
Baldwin.
Yeah, it's like somebody else on his like staff like put a bullet in his gun that he accidentally murdered somebody with. He had no intentions of like murdering anybody. He was just like
he was doing his job.
But guess what? Murder occurred, and like now is it all on him?
Yeah, I don't know. We were debating this. I don't think we came to a conclusion here.
I mean, it's like a weird line of like, absolutely he murdered somebody, but there's like no, like I don't know. It's like there's no liability on his end because he didn't, unless I don't know, he had some involvement in the
So if you're an actor and they say, all right, Keanu, here's your gun.
Keanu would never, dude.
Keanu, no.
Keanu, all right, here's your what's his name, John Wick, right?
Yeah.
Go and like do your acting stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's pulling the trigger. He's doing his thing. Is it really Keanu Reeves' fault that the gun fired an actual bullet?
I don't think so. Unless again, like he was involved in maybe like they're saying like he was the producer or involved in the production. So he's like, you know what? Let's lower the cost here. And then it's like, okay, we're gonna hire somebody who has no experience. Therefore, you know, bullet in gun. I don't know. You could tie that together if you're lawyers, prosecutors.
I still don't understand how somebody brings real bullets to like a movie set.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't understand.
Pretty baffling.
Right. Well, my point is like tying these two together is just sometimes things happen outside of the control of like, you know, the, I guess, initiator, like Baldwin initiated the pulling of a trigger, but his intention was just to play a role in a movie.
Yeah.
There was no murderous intent, right? So the fucking Tornado Cash guys, pulling the trigger on like deploying a protocol that gives privacy
Yeah, to everybody.
to transactions, but there's no intent to facilitate terrorist activity.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like WTF, like that's an injustice, is it not?
I feel like it is. Yes.
Yeah, but
What do you think, TJ? Did Alec commit murder or not?
Well, I definitely think that he killed somebody, right?
so that
Because if you pull the trigger, you
in
kill.
correlation.
So what?
it's
So
like-
wait a minute. So you're an actor, right? They hand you the gun. You gotta check the thing before you go and use it every time.
I mean, I would because I've been around firearms, but
Yeah, but
as somebody who hasn't been,
no, dude, this guy's like he just like chills by pools in Hollywood, dude. He's not a fucking
Yeah, he's not John Wick.
like actually. He just plays a John Wick, yeah. But no, they have people like on these sets, like that's their job is to make sure these things are
So the
safe.
people on these sets should be the people who are telling the Tornado Cash guys that you probably shouldn't do this.
Well, he's probably like alone mostly. He was like a small team. It was like
Yeah, it's probably one guy. Yeah,
one or two at most, And there's a lot of these DeFi projects that start out like this.
yeah, dude.
You know?
Tornado Cash wasn't like bad. It's not like
Right.
holding a gun.
No, but again, it's just I don't know. There's some sort of parallel there that I thought, but I don't know.
Yeah.
My point is, fuck yeah, there's fear in all this. Like, of course, people are afraid to try to innovate because there's potential unintended consequences that
That's
you're
right.
liable for.
Right. I feel like the challenge in any creation is to not have a chance of breaking the law. Right?
Not necessarily. Sometimes the laws, are not right. I don't know. I don't know. I would say so.
Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built Metazone, the first app store for the metaverse. Buy, sell, and explore a new class of digital assets like our flagship game Rovi.ai. Support us by collecting your digital assets through Metazone at metazone.io. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated. All right, back to the video.
No,
I feel like the challenge is to like create something where you're not violating regulatory stuff, right?
well, you should. Yeah, you should definitely focus on that.
Well, yeah, because at least you have a defensible position, right? If somebody, I guess somebody could still misuse it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that ultimately is the issue.
Yeah, I mean,
But then again,
how many people have misused,
a car
Binance and Coinbase and all these other centralized exchanges for also
or misuse the dollar?
exactly. It's happening in all facets of technology. How much misuse has happened, with Twitter and Instagram?
Yeah,
Why do you think
Yeah.
Zuckerberg is on the hot seat? Like, dude, you know how much child sex trafficking your platforms are supporting?
it was like, yeah, but I didn't create it for that.
Exactly. It's like, it's gonna happen, guys. It's like this is what technology does.
Yeah,
Technology is not an exclusive utility to good,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. I remember that he was in Congress and they were yelling at him, and he was like, "You need to apologize," and he actually tried.
Yeah. That was pretty wild. I don't know, dude. This is a tough subject. We're talking about
It's a clown world out there, dude.
the justice system and what is it's tough. It's tough. But the point is, don't be scared to innovate. That's my and if you end up going down for it for whatever reason, I guess
we salute your service.
pretty much you're one of the martyrs of technology, I guess.
Yeah.
And hopefully your contributions, sacrifices push the ball forward for humanity as a whole in some way.
Yeah, this reminds me back as man, Satoshi really had the foresight to really remain anonymous in a way where he actually was successful at it. Nobody figured it out.
Not at all. Well, I feel like Hal Finney, it's so obvious. My idea.
It has to be, yeah.
It has to be Hal Finney. There's just so
But
much.
still, there's still not enough to
But even if it was, he's already dead. So it's
yeah, even,
so what?
even worse, yeah.
But if we found out who it was, then what? What is the world's response to that?
I don't know.
So what? What do you do to the man? Is it
If he's still alive,
like
you
a-
mean?
well, yeah, if I don't know, whatever agency or organization that was interested in finding out who's Satoshi.
Dude, I hope Satoshi's still alive, dude. I want I don't know, 20 years from now, is be like, here's proof I'm Satoshi. It's like, here's why I did this. And it's like,
That would be pretty cool.
every Bitcoin's worth like $2 million or something.
Yeah, at that point, it's like, no, it doesn't matter. It's undisruptible.
It's like after the countries adopt Bitcoin, that's when it comes out. It's like,
Oh my god,
I did
that'd actually
this.
be so cool. That would be
that
so
would be
cool.
quite the cap to
until
like
he
a
dumps on
generation.
everybody.
Yeah, it's like sea of fools.
He just says thanks for the cheddar and rolls.
1 million times 1 million is what, $1 trillion?
Is it? Probably.
Yeah,
Damn,
that's $1 trillion, dude.
it's quite the exit. $1 trillion exit.
Imagine waiting for that. It's like ETH crash.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon, because yeah, like we said earlier, we got the official light switch. So what happens now, dude? Now that Bitcoin like is confirmed to be like on its up and to the right phase, what do you expect? The time horizon here.
Yeah, so let's make some predictions. So because of the ETF, because we're seeing potential all-time highs before they're happening, we could enter the orange to red area. We could. Now, I don't think we will. We could.
What do you mean? Like eventually?
Eventually, yeah, like at its peak, which is going to be around this area here. These two.
Yeah, I'm hearing the same narrative I heard last cycle.
Yeah, it's like
super cycle.
yeah.
Remember?
I'm hearing that again too.
I'm hearing the exact same thing, which leads me to believe that it won't be. Maybe like
Yes, exactly.
These super cycle narratives, like they never happen again. It's like as Bitcoin matures, it finds its like stability over time.
Yeah,
Because everybody expects it's like because inject all these narratives like ETFs and who knows
Yeah.
what's gonna come down the line, like who's gonna start publicly supporting Bitcoin 6 months from now.
yeah. So I want to show you something. So if you do the max, and then so this is like a linear chart, right? You do a log, and look at that. It hasn't really like exploded,
Well, no,
Right?
no, it hasn't. 'cause-
and which is proof to what you're saying is that it gets a little bit more stable as it goes on.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean? If you go back to here, it probably never reaches like orange and red anymore. And it just barely touches like orange, and then that's about it. And like you're looking at a maximum like $180,000 Bitcoin.
that seems reasonable to me.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
anytime like you go into the yellow, that's when you're starting to think about selling and forget about it. No, it doesn't matter what happens. Even if it goes to red and you're like, you feel sad, it's like, doesn't matter. It's going to go back into the blues at some point.
Pretty much. Yeah, you definitely need to equip yourself with that because whenever, like right now, you can be aware, like, it's like, you know what? Well, thanks for that advice. I mean, maybe this is like, I came into this space during the bear market, so I don't know what to expect. But yeah, expect like your mind to really start playing tricks on you.
It really does.
Like for real.
It really, really does.
Yeah, even though like you're aware that that's going to happen, like it still fucks with you.
It really does.
Like
It's so weird.
it makes you make poor decisions. It's crazy.
It
In most
really
cases,
is.
in most cases, yeah, it's weird. Like the psychology of
Like the euphoria and the number go up.
market economics, dude. It's a true force, and why? Because it is literally a representation of sentiment and stuff. So
Yeah.
you can get captured by that, and you can make critical flawed thinking patterns out
You
of it.
absolutely can.
So that's just like a PSA if you're totally new to all this, So
Yeah.
you're gonna literally the bags you're holding. You're gonna be so deeply convinced that like you're literally holding, like, I don't know, like the keys to bringing Jesus back on earth, something like that. It's like they're so valuable, like they should be in the Vatican, It should be housed in the Vatican,
Yeah.
Like that's how it's fucking
It's like the Natcat, like at the Vatican.
exactly. This should be like in every major museum ever.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why maybe at that point they're selling for like $1 million a piece. Maybe, who knows?
It's right next to the Constitution.
Yeah. Fucking burn that Constitution, de-shelve it. Natcat in its place. Why the fuck? Because that's how you're gonna feel at that time.
Yeah.
And everybody's gonna be like agreeing with you, and so that's where the mass delusion kind of happens.
That's right. Dude, it's crazy because we can talk about it now and it's like funny now, but when it's happening in real time,
I know.
you actually think it should be in the Vatican.
Yeah,
Like it's a real, authentic thought.
seriously, I'm not even joking. It's like, dude, Well, like Elon, why are you going to Mars, dude? If you do, you need to bring NFTs with you or something like that.
Yeah,
you know, things like this.
It's like a sensible thought at the time, but it's outrageous.
It is outrageous.
Dude, 10K ETH was a meme back then, or it was a meme now, but like back then it was like a certainty. It was just a matter of time.
Exactly.
It was.
I was right there with you, TJ.
Yeah,
I was like, dude, I can't wait till I go to your ranch. You know what I mean?
It was just a matter of time.
It was like a couple of weeks away, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How high did ETH get? Like
4,800.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a 2x? Come on.
Yeah.
Like, you really? That's not going to get 10K? You're an idiot if you think that.
The ETH Foundation dumped on everybody twice.
Yeah.
Of course.
Twice.
Yeah. It's crazy. So just be aware of that. Man, being aware. That's like telling people to actually like have control of their own minds. That's like the hardest thing.
Yeah, it is.
Like, yeah. So I'm the last person who should be telling people that. I'm like the least good example of that. Will, you should be saying these words. You have way more control over your own mind.
I have way more control, but in these situations, it's really tough.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like
It is weird.
it's like I'm not myself.
You're not. I saw it, dude. I was like, where did your rational thinking go, dude? It went
Yeah,
right out the window.
I remember. Yeah, you called me. I was like, you're like, Will, it's like, man, is at $5. You should sell some.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, dude, it's like, Bitcoin's at, 60K. It's definitely going 100.
Yeah, the mood charts told me so, dude. I was like, dude, but like it just did a 500x, dude. It's like, it's probably gonna like retrace. He's like, no, absolutely.
It's like,
not.
trust me, man.
Yeah.
I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Exactly. That's a good example, dude. Like, the market warped your mind in that moment, dude.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It's wild. So it's gonna happen again. I'm scared.
it is.
I'm
It
scared.
is. I am scared too.
TJ, you gotta help us, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna. Yep, I'll be the one.
To pull us back in, dude. It's like, you guys, might want to stay composed here. Yeah.
Yeah. So that means that ETH is not going to 10K this time, is it?
It's got to, dude.
100.
It's a certainty.
100K, easy, dude. What do you mean?
It's built in.
Yeah, 100K is FUD for sure.
So, I mean, really, like, if we're saying like,
Dude,
Bitcoin ETF is like a $180,000 cap, right? Market cap, or sorry, price.
uh-huh.
I mean, that's a sensible price for Bitcoin, right? What is a sensible price for Ethereum? Like 12,000, maybe? Like 11,000? Is that the top?
12, 14, I would say. But that means absolutely nothing. It's like, yeah, that sounds like a good number to me. What the fuck does that even mean?
That feels good.
Yeah. It's so baseless. It's like, yeah, I like the look of that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what you have to do with Ethereum.
Why? I don't know.
Yeah, because you don't have like this cadence.
It's true, dude. You don't have a cadence. You don't have a 4-year
No.
rhythm. Yeah, but everything kind of piggybacks on like the cadence of Bitcoin, though.
I mean, Ethereum kind of looks like this. It has a double top,
exactly.
right?
No
So
shit. Yeah, it's like Bitcoin really does just guide the whole
it does.
thing.
And so, like, if we have a sensible top here where it's like 170-ish, then what's sensible for Ethereum, right?
I don't know, dude. TJ, what do you think?
Well, I know when I'll be out. It'll be well before 12K.
Well, you're missing out on that extra
I know.
4 or 5K, dude. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna like jump back in?
No.
Like, you won't FOMO in? I don't know, dude.
What if-
your brain's gonna tell you?
Here's the thing. What if it doesn't get to 10K, though? Like, it caps out at 8,500.
Whatever, Will. I've been holding this long. Just continue to stake, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. You just let it roll, dude, and just try to survive another 4 years. Pretty much. That's the name of this game.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Damn. Okay.
Well, that's Bitcoin. I guess that's crypto, like in a nutshell. It's pretty weird, this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite Willy Woo charts, they're not working anymore, dude.
That says something. I don't know what though.
Yeah, it just stops at $27,000. Like, well, this is definitely the end of Bitcoin.
I don't know. It's like Willy Woo is just like cashed out or something. At that, it's like, you know what? I don't need to maintain this chart anymore.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, dude, it stopped in March time frame, dude. April. Wow.
Here you go. What a weird time to stop. But anyways, speaking of signal is on. Bull market officially began. We're talking about, several narratives kind of like drove some interest last time around.
Yeah.
So here we are about to enter like a new, I guess, phase of market appreciation. So a lot of liquidity and capital is trickling into the Bitcoin space,
Mm-hmm.
For a variety of reasons. So at some point, these narratives are going to take front and center stage in front of like a new class of a participant, right? So DMT being one of them
Mm-hmm.
is our prediction. And yeah, that sounds kind of like
Self-serving.
a little bit, just a
But
tad.
here's the thing. Hold on. Self-serving. This is a framework. We don't make it. Well, we don't. It's like it's a framework that anybody can onboard and use
Mm-hmm.
on their own website.
Yeah.
Like it's just a framework,
Mm-hmm.
right? If like it gets widely adopted and like let's say Magic Eden like integrates in like does everything DMT, it's
Yeah.
like, they'll make the lion's share of the money,
Correct.
right? And so like this isn't as
That's a-
self-serving as you would think.
Well-
Like how self-serving is BRC20 for Domo?
Well, like trying to like advocate for the growth and expansion of that ecosystem.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly.
it depends on like which tokens he's holding, right?
But it makes like total sense. Like, why would you like put out a protocol for people to leverage and build with, and then just, you know what? I'm actually really more into like SRC20s.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like
Fade.
contribute to the growth and ecosystem of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
No, he wouldn't do that. No, like initiator, founder to an ecosystem. There's a reason why Vitalik shows up at every fucking ETH Denver conference, and
it's
like
true.
he's trying to navigate, the community and the ecosystem that has been built around what it is him and his, fellow developers introduced to the crypto space back in 2014, 2015.
Yeah,
Right? A lot of good has come from that, and that focus and that nurturing, right?
yeah. And he's one of few who's stuck around.
Oh yeah, everybody else just went off and like took the glory
Dan
and
Larimer.
spun off a whole different chain.
Yeah, what's Dan Larimer doing these days, dude?
I don't even want to know, dude. It's pretty rough. He's out there like chasing a whole other dimension. Like,
Literally.
Yeah, and I used to like literally revere that guy,
Yeah,
because
he's smart.
he is smart. Delegated proof of stake seemed like a thing.
It's great.
Great idea, dude. This sounds like a good way to kind of like, initiate like an ecosystem that's
Yeah.
not so. But yeah, it toppled in a sense. It got a lot of the things that Vitalik warned against like actually came true. But
Sure.
in the delegation process, I mean, money always ends up winning, like in controlling these types of
Yeah.
ecosystems, one way or another. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, so what was like self-serving, dude. It's just okay. So DMT is out there. Yeah, we think it's a good like addition to what is happening in the crypto space. You were on a Twitter space last night, right?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Leonidas. Yeah. So a lot of people still don't understand DMT, and then the response that we're getting is like, oh, it's too complicated.
Yeah.
DMT is too complicated. But I have to like read documents. It's like we're in crypto. Everything in crypto is complicated.
Yeah.
I don't understand that justification. It's just laziness and back bias again.
Yeah, but it's okay if they make that snap judgment of like, again, like this is too complicated for me. I decide not to participate in it. Then you made the mistake that I made in 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
with
I was
Bitcoin.
trying to onboard into crypto, and it was pretty fucking complicated back then. Very complicated. I could have figured it out, but I would have had to like actually put in that extra effort.
Yeah.
Had I done that, man, things would have been different. You
You'd
know
be
what I mean?
sitting on hundreds of Bitcoin.
Correct. I'd be right there in the Vatican, side by side, dude. I'd be chilling.
Yeah.
But that's not the case because I allowed the complication and like that resistance like deter me from actually making the right steps.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is like a critical flaw for a lot of people. Is like not being able to like push past that barrier of resistance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in this case, okay, so who is actually encountering this difficulty for UNAT specifically?
Like
Artists, right?
yeah, artists. I guess they were trying to figure out how you actually render the cats, and I was telling them, I was like, that's too many steps. I was like, well, if you understand the protocol or the meta protocol, you would understand why there's that many steps.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't spend any time on it. And I was telling you about it, and you're like, you know what? That's actually bullish. anytime that I guess that crew over there fades something, it just does the opposite. For example,
Well,
bitmap.
I was about to say, that's exactly what we experienced with Bitmap. We went on the same Twitter Spaces. We were called up
Several times.
Yeah, we were called up. It was like, dude, it's like somebody who knows something about what's going on with Bitmap, come up here, right? And
Yeah.
it was always like you.
Yeah.
It's like here's what's happening, guys. Let me explain why Bitmap's taking off. And then at the end of like the explanation is always like, still sounds stupid.
Yeah.
You know, you failed in your explanation attempt. So go back to your corner of Ordinals and leave us alone.
Yeah,
And we'll sit here and talk about the next monkey drop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's,
Literally,
That's
they-
what it was. Yeah.
And they literally spent the next like 6 months talking about the next monkey drops,
Yeah.
while Bitmap was like building an actual ecosystem. And it kept growing and continuing to excel,
Yeah.
and it became the #1 Ordinal collection by far.
Not only the Ordinal collection, but the biggest NFT project in crypto.
I don't think it's taken that reign yet.
Well, it's big. It's the biggest outside of ENS domains.
Oh, you mean by holder count?
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about like market cap.
Oh, yeah,
specifically.
yeah.
Market cap, it is like the #1 Ordinal. So yeah, it's just we saw all that, we experienced all that. We were like attacked from so many angles. It's like,
Dude, we're getting attacked from people outside of Bitmap. We're getting attacked from people inside of Bitmap.
well, now we are.
Yeah.
Now we're actually getting attacked.
It's quite entertaining, really.
Yeah, and slightly depressing.
I find it super entertaining.
I know. You
It's
guys are-
depressing only because we're dealing with like psychology here,
Mhm. Yeah.
and like the fact that these coins like really mess with your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's really depressing. Is that we're humans just like they're humans, and they're being affected in ways that we can be infected,
Yeah.
and that's depressing.
Something like that, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that Twitter space, yeah, I heard some of it and I was like, dude, perfect. Like they're reacting just like how they did to Bitmap, to DMT.
Yeah.
It's fine. The evidence is happening outside of that circle of like conversation that this is something not to be faded,
Yeah.
right? So nobody needs validation from like that circle
No.
in any way, shape, or form.
No, none.
But it's fine. Like anybody's able to have their own positioning, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
I like to stick with legacy NFTs or Ordinals. Fucking let me do that. You're free to do that, dude.
Yeah.
But there's a camp over here that's actually trying to like push the ball forward to some destination of innovation and progress,
Yes.
some newness, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
good luck with your legacy stuff that has not transformed in any way over the last 3 or 4 years.
Not transformed at all. That's crazy.
Yeah, all you've done is ported it to Bitcoin. Big fucking deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big fucking deal, but like the retail is not going to look at that and like be inspired.
It's like, ooh, we have artifacts on Bitcoin.
That's cool.
Yeah, let me go get that monkey now.
Right. Like I thought monkeys like happened already.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they did, but these are on Bitcoin. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, right.
Now you introduce something new, something like,
Yeah.
hey, those monkeys that were hot on Ethereum? Well, they're being rendered based off of block data, right? Something introduced where the artist can interpret what's happening on Bitcoin in a various ways.
Yeah, and
Right.
create like a forever existing tie together to the mechanisms of Bitcoin itself, and like it becomes literally an eternally present like part of the digital universe, right?
Yeah,
it just as Bitcoin is.
It's alive, meaning that monkey could occur again.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if the founder Yuga Labs, they all just get hit by busts.
Yeah.
And guess what? Monkey Project dead.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not the case in this like non-arbitrary landscape, right? So that is going to be like the big like holy fuck me realization at some point.
Yeah, DMT tokens are always going to be in the conversation now forever because these patterns will occur again.
Yeah.
There's going to be new Natcats forming again.
Yeah. So we're going to need to see like something like that, some sort of like event on the horizon where like there's a popular like UNAT collection.
Yeah.
Hopefully it happens within like the next 6 months or something, and like an introduction of like another, I don't know, like it doesn't have to be, right now it's bits field, but maybe some other like pattern field.
Yeah.
Once those are unlocked, it's going to become much more obvious like why these like expansionary like considerations are a big deal, right? Because there's going to be an actual like revelation of block production of these assets, right?
Yeah.
Like in real time, like it manifests as a block on mempool like actually is accepted, and then you're gonna see like all these different digital matter components within that block manifesting before your eyes.
Yeah, I want to show you this image here. We were talking about it the other day.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for. Come on, where's the cat, dude? Here it is.
Oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
the case.
Dude, check this out. All right,
That's a perfect representation of what I'm talking about.
Natcats timeline, right? Here's the Bitcoin blocks, right? Here are the Natcats that are formed based off the data of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But here's the timeline. The first occurrence of Natcats, which occurred between, I guess, the start in 2016, it occurs once. And every time there's an occurrence where the pattern exists, there's 2016 blocks.
Yeah.
So we have 2016 blocks here. The pattern never occurred again for 440 days, about a year.
More than a year. Yeah.
Right? And then it occurs again between 2000. Wait, what is this? Oh, these are the blocks. Okay, sorry.
No, those are the cats. That's like the
Yeah.
grouping of cats.
Yeah. So does it have a timeline here? It's a timestamp from 2010. Yeah, 2010 timeframe. So from February to March.
Mhm.
And then it occurs again in 2011.
2 weeks.
Right? 2 weeks. Right? A difficulty adjustment lasts for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And so it occurs again about a year later.
So
Then
at the end of that, we have half the existing supply right there.
that's half. Yeah. Yeah. So it's only been about like 2 years. Right?
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, 3,243 days pass.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years.
10 years, dude.
Almost 10 years without this pattern occurring again.
And nobody knew within that 10-year stretch that like what they really were missing were cats. Nobody knew. Nobody was aware.
Yeah.
It's like every block that was churning every single day was like another whiff.
Yeah.
It was like, fuck, there wasn't another Nat cat born on this day. But
Right.
now we're looking back now, historically, it's like, wow. Like,
Yeah, this happened.
this actually happened.
Yeah.
know?
And so now 10 years later, it occurs 2016 times. And then in 1,400 days later, which is what, 4 years?
I mean, that's pretty recent right there, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2
Yeah,
weeks.
literally like the last batch was minting,
Dude, that's
during the
crazy.
genesis of this whole new class of digital assets.
But let's assume DMT existed from the drop, right?
like built into Bitcoin.
It occurs, and then what if the founder dies, right? Somewhere between those 10 years, right? This will persist on with or without the founder.
How come? Explain that technically.
Well, because the way that this works is if it occurs, the pattern occurs again, right? There's new supply. That new supply can be acquired through any of the inscription services.
Right, but what about the actual like rendering of the asset? Like,
Well,
how does that like persist indefinitely?
the script for the rendering is on chain as well.
Yeah.
And so every mint inscription basically points to that script on chain.
So and all that the seeds to that generative process,
Yeah.
it is rooted in on-chain information, right?
Yeah, it's all there.
So it's always going to be provided, all the different individual components that not only result in the non-arbitrary existence of these like assets, which is like the non-arbitrary token supply.
Yeah.
That is also retrieved and derived from blockchain information native to Bitcoin.
Right.
But it also like the fucking rendering of the content itself is
Yeah.
completely reliant and dependent on that as well, right? So
Yeah.
the whole damn thing is like a product of Bitcoin, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
so indefinitely, this Natcats will be forever a conversational piece because it's completely dependent on what Bitcoin does.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's why I like to like quantify this as like a true like evolutionary step and like
Yeah.
the progression of digital like content.
Yeah, this is
Right,
what you were saying, NFTs 2.0.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it, dude. Because again, like obviously digital collectibles are a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
It's going to be a prevalent and persistent part of everybody's life, and specifically like the upcoming generations. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole motivation to do NFTs in the first place, right? Is like, we're gonna live in the metaverse in the future.
Yeah.
So we're gonna need true ownership of our like activities, through on-chain assets. So let's take it a step even further and like let's create an actual digital manifestation mechanism that's
Right.
rooted in like the most valuable substrate layer on Earth, which is Bitcoin, right? It just makes too much sense, maybe from our perspective, because we're actually perpetually building things in the metaverse space.
Yeah.
It's like it just clicks with us.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if we can actually root all of our creations to something that has real tangible value to it,
Yeah.
it feels like it gives our creations more tangible value as well, right?
Yeah, and those creations are independent of humans, right? The data is based off of Bitcoin, and it's like, it's just there already, right? It's up to us to use it, and that's what DMT is. It's the utilization of the data that's already there.
Correct.
It's just basic thermodynamics, guys.
So basic. Clearly, you're a fool if you didn't pay attention to that chapter in school. Thermodynamics. It must have been
That chapter.
whatever, dude. You know what I mean. But it's not as easy as you make it sound, right? And we're learning that, right, through the public discourse and through the integrations abroad, right? We've already figured it out on MScribe because I mean, we designed MScribe singularly for this purpose, right? It's to facilitate the manifestation of digital matter. Like that is, I mean, the tagline is literally ground zero for non-arbitrary tokens. That's what MScribe does.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, we have like an unfair advantage in designing a platform for this stuff because, I mean, we envisioned it, right?
Yeah.
So the rest of the ecosystem kind of has to play a little bit of catch up, right? If they want to play.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of catching up, so we have a tweet here from Gnarl Magic. He's from Magic Eden. And someone asked him, hey, Gnarl, will the cats be joining Magic Eden soon? He was like, you have to ask the cats. We're ready for them.
Okay.
And then Daniel comes in. Is this true? DMT, Natcats, let's get the show on the road. And so EV, dude, such a perfect and surgical response every single time.
Yeah.
He says, Magic Eden has proposed an implementation approach for listing UNATs. We are reviewing this currently. If we evaluate that this approach provides the proper support for UNATs, we will proceed. Your patience is appreciated. Boom. So what's happening here is, in case you guys don't know like how Magic Eden works, is they request the creators to supply a batch of inscriptions that are essentially closed in, meaning it's up to the creator to append the supply if they want to, right? As creators have done, right? They sort of arbitrarily inflate their supply, so you could do that. But the burden is on the creators to supply this information to Magic Eden, and Magic Eden will take this information and then they will display whatever the creator submits. Mm-hmm. And so if the creator isn't understanding what it is that they're supplying to Magic Eden, for example, maybe they index it themselves and they have incorrect indexing.
Yeah.
Now people are going to Magic Eden, a place that they trust, buying things that came from a creator who probably doesn't know what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Not the case of EV, by the way.
Yeah.
But just an example. And all of a sudden, people are getting wrecked because Magic Eden puts the burden on the creator, right? It works for Magic Eden, but it doesn't work very well for the people using Magic Eden and the creator themselves.
So what is the proper, what do you think?
So this method works in the way where traditional legacy NFTs, right?
Okay.
It's like I have a 10K PFP project. Here's what they look like. Here are the inscription numbers. Here's the images. Here's the GIFs, whatever it is. I'm going to package that up in a zip drive. I'm going to send it to Magic Eden. Magic Eden, do your thing. Just list it and send me the money.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what traditionally happens, and it works fine.
Yeah.
But we have something new here with DMT that is live, active, real time, and so these batch implementations will not work for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
What if, EV, proceeds, which he should, right? Because that's how Magic Eden kind of works right now. Mm-hmm. But what if he proceeds and, unfortunately he just can't, update the batch because that pattern occurs again.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now Magic Eden just can't get the update, right? The new 2016 supply, because they're not connected to this ecosystem in real time. It's like, so what is EV supposed to do, right? He's gotta get the new batch, update the batch that's currently on Magic Eden, and then all of a sudden there's a new supply.
Yeah,
right. That doesn't work, right? These platforms need to integrate and with TAP protocol and get these things updated in real time. Because you don't know what happens to people.
Yeah.
Right? They could disappear for a number of reasons, right? They get sick, they, all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it can't be like the creator's responsibility to maintain these future, you know, batch mint events, because again, this is an indefinite like protocol.
Yeah, I just showed you. I just showed you. There's this pattern had a gap of 10 years, dude.
Yeah, a lot can happen in 10 years, dude. A lot.
Wars, famine,
elections. What else happens in 10-year spans?
Pandemics,
fucking new iPhones and stuff.
Nuclear wars.
Damn, dude, what fuck? Can you calm down a bit?
Asteroids.
Absolute
famine and nuclear wars.
What's wrong with this dude? Absolute desolation of Earth occurs within the next 10 years, pretty much. So it's possible. It is a vector of possibility.
Yeah, there's all these things that prevent the creator to doing a batch update.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much. So yeah, basically if these platforms refuse, again, the adaptation, the responsibility of adaptation to something that is new.
Yeah.
Which is what we're seeing, right? It's like it's I feel like it's a natural thing, you know, any new infrastructure requirement, I guess, that needs that level of support. You're going to need a lot more like market reinforcement, I guess, is like, this is worthy of our resources and such, right?
Yeah.
It does make sense. It's so...
Yeah, I mean, because it's so new, it's kind of hard to like, kind of update your own systems because of this. All the Twitter guys, all the Twitter DJs are talking about these cats. And we don't really understand why they're talking about these cats, but it's just another thing that they're talking about. Like, without really understanding that this is an actual change with how things are done.
Yeah. So I think that's largely what, so I guess like big props to EV here for actually, hold on. What was this? Oops. For actually, I guess like fighting through this and like, you know, making sure that Natcats are positioned properly into this like market infrastructure.
Yeah.
You know, for the sake of all other future UNATs, really.
Yeah.
It's like EV could have easily taken like the greedy routes. It's like, you know what, let's just get these things out there so that we could just pump them to the moon, right? It's like, no, we gotta. He feels that responsibility. He's ushering in, this whole new thing, by himself.
Yes,
right? Because there's a lot of other UNATs, and they're up there.
They're already up there.
I don't think they feel that same like responsibility of like, making sure upholding the world principles of DMT and making sure the infrastructure is properly aligned.
Yeah. Right.
He's going through with it. So everybody give him your energy.
Yeah.
If you actually believe in this as well, and like, it needs to be done the right way.
Yeah. And Evie's doing it right. So shout out to Evie. And then, so Gnarl comes in with another tweet. He's like, if more come in referencing DMT stuff, you should know any UNATs on Magic Eden to date were indexed and self-submitted by the creators like any other collection, which makes sense for any other collection because there is no source data like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay? Not Magic Eden, they say. This means they'd be manually updating any expansion updates as well. Meaning, if the pattern exists, you better update your art.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, we're not going to see it. You're not going to display.
In other words,
all pissed off.
In other words, if you're manually updating these collections, you better quickly figure out how to become invincible. You better figure out how to become immortal.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, your collection is fucked.
It is, basically. Yeah, it's dead on Magic Eden.
It's dead. So if you die, your collection dies with you.
It's like, but you know what? It's still better than spreadsheets. Right, so we're not gonna update our systems for that little Natcats thing or whatever's happening with UNAS. No, we're not gonna update anything. Right, we're just gonna send me your stuff. We'll make money, and you'll make money, and that's really why we're all here, right? And that's it, right? We're not here to like really do anything.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate, I guess but it makes sense like why this is happening, and this is a testament to just how early everything is. It's like infrastructure has to literally adapt to what it is UNATs are and just non-arbitrary tokens, the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Because again, that's why we're putting out these messagings. It's like, dude, do not play if you're not willing to do that. Yeah. Like, just stay the fuck away. Yeah. It's like the ecosystem will flourish on its own.
Yeah. You guys have plenty of legacy NFTs to like flip all day.
Correct.
Right. If you don't want to update your systems to kind of support this new ecosystem, which is brand new, that has different requirements. Yeah. You can't play.
Yeah. So that's all we're asking. We're publicly asking for like if you see some value in this, you're not just trying to like, if you think this is just like a flash in the pan, like something that's just trendy, that's gonna get like, Magic Eden some 100, 200 Bitcoin volume for like a month or two, and then it's just gonna fizzle away.
Yeah.
And we don't have to consider anything else beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just stick with the legacy stuff because that works fine.
Yeah.
But
if you think this is actually like a true, innovation, and it's going to be a prevalent, persistent thing in your platform, do the due diligence. Do some put in some effort, dude. You guys have hundreds of millions of dollars in funding and shit like that. There's no reason,
no excuse, dude.
Yeah, there's no reason why a little old us could figure out how to get these things properly displayed on Mscribe.
Yeah,
and
100%.
big old you cannot.
Yeah, 100%. Real time, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just,
it's like, hey, Blockbuster, you don't need to worry about anything. That internet thing is just a flash in the pan.
Yeah,
just continue pushing out your cassettes.
Pretty much. Yeah, this is not impossible in any stretch of the whatever.
Yeah.
So everybody be aware of that. That's what's happening, So again, fucking
so
energy
again
to fucking EV, dude. Take it all.
Dude, EV's killing it, dude.
Yeah.
But so this is a PSA, right? Buying stuff on Magic Eden, especially DMT stuff, the burden is on the creator. If the creator doesn't understand in themselves what DMT is and like the responsibility of like keeping things updated and indexed properly, right? If you're using Genie data and you're doing your own scripts to index yourselves, like that could introduce a problem. You could introduce incorrect information to Magic Eden, thereby having people buy incorrect inscriptions. It makes us it's a problem for us because when people come to Mscribe, they're like, hey, I bought this thing on Magic Eden, it's not showing up. It's like, that's not our fault, that's Magic Eden's fault. Magic Eden's like, that's not our fault, that's the creator's fault. The creator's fault is like, that's not my fault, I used Genie data to do this, and it's it's a giant mess.
Really is. Wow. Okay. Well, step one, read the Git book as that was pushed this week.
Yeah.
The updates to it, actually truly try to understand, because a lot of these non-arbitrary token deployments, they did come in like even before the official documentation update was released for UNAT support, right? So
that's why this indexing is so important. It's the actual truth, right? If you're not utilizing track indexing to find out what the truth is, you're making it up.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
Yeah. All right, that was the PSA, dude.
All right.
There it is.
So here's the update. There's like a UNAT section. We go through explicitly how to render on-chain images for UNATs.
Yeah.
Here's the creator journey. I submit a script into Bitcoin. I deploy my token, Natcats, and I have people mint, and that mint points back to the deployment.
Which points back to the script.
The script says, give me a block number. I have a block number here. I can't really zoom in. It's 319,924. That's submitted to the script. Therefore, you get Natcat.
Yeah, and it's non-arbitrary form.
Yeah,
right.
It's really not complicated.
It's not.
If you think it's complicated, that's because you haven't read the docs and you haven't done your due diligence. It's that simple.
Pretty much. Yeah, you're actually just being lazy.
Yeah,
and that's
fine.
That's fine.
That's fine.
It's cool.
Yeah, just be lazy. It's fine.
Look at me, dude. I've had my lazy moments or two. I understand. I get it, dude. Sometimes you just want to veg out and just, fuck, dude.
No, not me, dude. No.
Oh, yeah, you and your fucking Rambo fucking take off your shirt, dude. Showing just how unlazy you are. Fucking A.
Well, I mean, I guess we weren't that lazy because we were able to come up with this framework, right? So
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's it for us.
Yeah.
So if we miss anything, shout out to Evie.
Big shout out. Big shout out to
what a
Benny,
killer, dude.
as usual. Benny,
always killing it. God, dude, Benny. God damn it.
Shout out to team at Mscribe for doing what Magic Eden is,
incapable.
For what
because it's too complicated, dude.
Yeah, I guess. And shout out to anybody who's actually doing the due diligence, not being lazy, actually figuring out what this actually is.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, actually, I can apply my art for real. Like, I have a true intention to be part of this ecosystem's growth.
Yeah.
And, like, actually wanting it to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Shout out to all of you. Who else? Shout out to ourselves for trying our best to like answer everybody's questions.
Yeah.
And, like trying real hard to for all to keep up with the support. It's a lot.
Yeah.
We have like tons of DMs, and we're trying our best, guys.
And dude, shout out to the haters too, because you guys are doing a
Good job at hating.
Yeah, good job.
Fucking great job, dude.
Yeah, and that's helping us a lot actually. So it's good.
That is actually
Keep the effort going.
keep throwing the turds our direction,
just-
dude. It's fucking great.
Yeah, it is.
We love it. We literally feed on turd. Let's fucking go, dude.
All right, on that note, I appreciate you guys for watching, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
All right, peace.